Welcome back to Gate to Glory, your fast track to Hong Kong racing insights. Joshua Reed joining you all once again, and joining me each week, Nathan Keven from horsebetting.com.au and the right man on X. How are we, lads?
We're good.
Yeah, good, mate. Good.
And last weekend, what shall we say about Kaying Rising? What can we say? What more can we say about this horse?
I was going to say, the Subuilders are running out, aren't they, boys? Just a phenomenal performance. Come on. We talked about it last week. 61 kilos, Class 1 company. Look, wasn't going to be an issue taking on that the fellow horses he was against. But, geez, to do it so impressively. Jumps, sits outside the leader, wet track, 61 kilos, and smashes the clock, really. I mean, runs time as well. I think it was at 0.4 of a second outside his own track record, on which he obviously did on good ground. So, just a phenomenal effort, first up, and now obviously it's all eyes come Everest time in about a month. So it'll be very interesting. And now, look, he's just going to continue to firm. He's already holding such a big stake in terms of the betting. So to get him over here safe and sound is now the goal, and hopefully he does, and hopefully he's going to be rock solid and ready to rock and roll in Everest.
Absolutely. Before you came on, I was just saying to Joshua there, when you have 10 selections to do for Sha 10, you kind of only have 9 when Kaying Rising is running, because you just write him in and concentrate on the next 9 races. He was fantastic, wasn't he?
Yeah. What were your thoughts, both of you, on Lucky Swain S? I thought it was quite a good run.
Yeah, I was chuffed.
I did.
I was chuffed, Steve. I don't know about you. I know last week you boys were putting the pen through him. You're over it.
Yeah.
You can't win.
Well,
I'll put my hand up.
That's all right.
Yeah,
but,
I was before you actually said it there. I was actually going to applaud you. He's done it himself, Joshua. No, you're quite right. I mean, you were quite adamant that he was the nearest challenger, and I secretly agreed with you, but I thought I'd let you have your day, And,
of course.
We saw a solid return from Super Strong Kid the race after, which was the only best bet that got up on the weekend. I shouldn't be spruiking that. We want people to listen. But Nathan, well done. Super Strong Kid. Good return.
Yeah, good win. Yeah, solid win. Got the right run. Obviously, just jumped, held that inside rail, lead us back the trip, and was able to get it done. Probably, a little bit of a squeaky bum time with that runner-up horse sort of peeling out late. Looked like it was going to get there, but Rising Phoenix, I think it was.
Rising
second.
Phoenix.
So it was a really nice effort by that horse. Probably a little bit unlucky, but yeah, look, we get through unscathed. We take the chockies, and we move on.
What are your thoughts, Steve? Invincible Ibis.
that
was your best on the card. What were your thoughts around that?
Well, I know it's only 3 races in, but he's kind of becoming a bit frustrating now. I mean, Super Strong Kid was I actually put up Rising Phoenix just to take on Super Strong Kid, and he was slightly unlucky. We'd never have won, but he didn't travel as well. Anyway, I'm digressing because we're talking about Invincible Ibis. 223 now, isn't he? He's just becoming a little bit of a bit slightly frustrating. And there was no real excuse this time. He had to sort of angle back in towards the rail to get a run, but you can't say he didn't have a good chance. And an outsider took it, didn't it? John Size came, Spicy Spangle, I think it was. It came back and
Spicy Standard, yeah.
Spicy Standard. Just slightly disappointing. You would think twice next time, wouldn't you? I mean, there could be something else now that's, maybe I don't know, a debutant that he's not bomb-proof at all now, Invincible Ibis.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I was sort of kicking myself with Spicy Standard because when I looked through the trials, it was one that I wrote down. I actually wrote it down, and unfortunately, went against my better judgment with that one. Speaking of frustrating, Zach Purton, beautiful riding all day. This is the end of the day. I wanted him to ride Fast Network and Patch of Stars to winners, but unfortunately they were no good. But we did see an impressive win by Bulb General.
Very good.
Yeah, he's a nice horse. It was a really impressive win. One I think we all sort of thought would be winning on the day. The best bet type just didn't quite obviously make it onto the show, but he was brilliant. Got back, ran on really, really nicely, and was one of 5 winners for Burton, I think. So it was hard asked for him to get 7, I suppose, in the end, wasn't it, really? But look, no, it was a terrific win, one of the winners of the day, and obviously a horse with plenty of upside, I think his 3rd start. So, yeah, he's got plenty of room to move with his rating, and you'd think now he'll progress into a much tougher race, but he looks really, really progressive. So one to follow out of the meeting, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, apart from obviously Canyon Rising, it's probably the most impressive we've seen so far in a very short space, 2 weeks, 2 meetings.
I might have to flick him a message. He seems to do that every time. I picked some runners for Purton's riding, and he rides every other winner except the ones that I seem to pick. So anyway, that's okay. Well, I digress. Let's move on. We are on the B course this weekend. We have 2 of those races on the all-weather. We've got warm conditions. Weather forecast is supposed to be nice and hot. So I'm expecting a fast track, boys. Do you have anything to add on that, on how you think the track might play in the B course?
Yep, no, I agree. On the turf, I think we'll get some good times. It looks like it's going to be much better weather than what we had last week. Obviously, like I said, that's testing conditions, much clearer on Sunday. So, yep, genuine good fall, I'm expecting. And, B course usually plays pretty fair. Barrier's key for me, trying to sort of slot him for cover. So I'll probably talk about a bit more about that when we sort of talk about these individual runners. But, yeah, definitely a fast track for me, Steve. You?
Yes, absolutely. And it's nice not to have to consider changing conditions. To go through the card with just a fast track is a level playing ground for them and us.
All right, let's kick it off with race number 7, the Maytung Handicap Class 3 over 1,000 metres. I usually don't like diving into 1,000-metre races but I think we've got a couple of nice ones here. Definitely one that we're going to talk about early on. It's at 4:05 p.m. local time, 6:05 p.m. here in Sydney. Well, I'm in Newcastle, but New South Wales. I'm not sure. What time's that over there in your lands, Steve?
It'll be something like, if I remember rightly, 9-ish, 9 in the morning or something.
Oh, it's not too bad.
A civilized time, unlike race 1, which will be something like 6 a.m.
Yeah, right. Well, at least that's a class 5, isn't it? So
yeah.
All right, the first runner we're going to talk about is number 1, Fast Responder. Nathan, 122 pounds after the claim.
Yeah, interesting runner. I think fits in really nicely in this race. I think at the end of the last preparation, really started to come into his own. He did pinch a win in the middle of his preparation and then sort of went off the boil a little bit. But his last 2 runs were really, really good by the son of 10 Sovereigns. Got beaten by another horse we'll talk about in a second, Majestic Express, 2 starts back, again in Class 3 company. Carried 57.5 kilos that day. Then had to go up an extra half a kilo. Ran well, ran 3rd. Behind We Are Hero, who was a good winner on that day. Alonso comes out of that race as well. You can tie the form into him. I thought it was good that day too. I love the utilisation of the Brittany Wong claim. I think that's probably the main aspect that I like about the race setup on Sunday. Draws gate 8 should get a lovely run. If they just jump evenly, horse tends to be a little bit slow away, but that's again why I don't mind the weight relief here with Brittany Wong in the saddle. Should be able to jump, just hold a position somewhere midfield, cover on the rail. Should be able to slide across nicely. And if it does get the right run, I could definitely see Fast Responder being a player in this race. I do think there's a bit of depth here, which will, again, the likely favourite we'll talk about in a sec. But he fits in well.
Steve?
Yeah, pretty much the same as Nathan. The money arrived for him when he scored over course and distance last season. As you say, Brittany Wong utilises that claim very well and deserved a £7 rise. 1 win from 12 starts, hails from the informed Douglas White Yard. And as you say, kind of lost his way after that success, but then sort of rebounded towards the end of the season with 2 placed efforts, which, as you say, ties him in closely with Majestic Express and also Alfonso. So he ended up just £1 lower than he went up to 74. So he's running off 73 now. Gate 8 is fine, isn't it? It's a good chance. Vulnerable to something, as we'll mention later, something less exposed. But with Brittany Wong's claim as well, there's not a really great deal of weight separating top to bottom. It's like 71, I think, for Majestic Express, 61 for Lightness of Music. So quite a narrow band. He's a bit sticky from the gate sometimes, Fast Responder, but definitely a place chance. I wouldn't have him on top, but he should run his race. But it's a tricky little race. I mean, well, we'll get to probably who we think will win, but it's Chartin and anything can happen.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's interesting you say that with Fast Responder. It gets in really well. The 8-pound swing on Majestic Express, which we're going to touch on in a second. It's interesting that the speed map on the Hong Kong Jockey Club have Fast Responder 3 pairs back on the fence. If he does get stuck into that position, it could be a bit of trouble late in the race, but he can run some good time, Fast Responder, especially, and with this weight relief, I can definitely see him running a solid race. But you think he would have the wood on the next runner we're going to talk about, Majestic Express, Nathan, who last preparation at the end of last year ran a it won 2 back. It was a nice win 2 back, and then went up to 126 pounds and ran 2 lengths back in 4th, coming from 11th. What were your thoughts around Majestic Express?
Yeah, interesting one. One that I had a lot of time for last preparation. Didn't quite put it all together. I thought the win 2 back was really good, but outside of that, his campaign was a little lackluster. He had to go back to just his 4th run in the prep. That was all the way back in October, where he won over the 1,200 metres. That was a good win. And then you sort of thought, okay, where's he going to progress to? And then became a little bit of a bridesmaid towards the end of the campaign. And eventually you get that win. But again, a bit of a Goldilocks type. Needed to get everything go perfectly, slice through the pack and won really nicely. Then had to carry the 57 kilos last time with Brenton Abdullah in the saddle. Drew the same barrier that he gets on Sunday as it did that day. And I thought was just plain to line. I think that the trial sense was just to sort of stretch out, and I wouldn't be worried too much about that. But I do think, on his day, he's classy. Again, just runs into a race where others are drawn better and have potential upside that I don't think he quite has. I think he sort of hit his rating. He could still have a few ratings points up his sleeve, but I do think he's probably going to be pretty well found as well. He was last prep in a few of those runs. He SP'd 3.2 in that race at the end of the campaign, and even when he won, he was only around that $6 mark. So I think he's going to be sort of well found. He'll be under double figures, and I could probably stretch him out to sort of 4th, even 5th pick where I've got him in this race. So I think he's a nice horse, but I've got him down in my numbers. I've demoted him a little bit. With barrier 3, he's going to get back again.
Steve?
Yes, Brenton Abdullah actually alluded to the fact that Gate 3 wasn't the best. He could be sort of on the wing in comparison to the other horses. He is worse off at the weights with Fast Responder, 8 pounds worse off. I still don't think, despite that I would necessarily definitely have him behind Fast Responder. I think Fast Responder is a bit win or bust sometimes. He will be slowly away, and I think sometimes it's not a silver bullet, Brittany Wong. Sometimes there could be trouble on the far rail if Fast Responder gets there. And by John Sizey standards, he's not done too badly at the beginning of the season. Normally, sort of crawls like a sort of tortoise, doesn't he? But he's some of his horses, he's on the board, and as Nathan alludes to, he does look a bit behind the handicap. Might need a couple of races, maybe a bit of relief before he presses on. But I think he'll run a fair race, maybe in the top half dozen. But I don't see a great deal of. I mean, sometimes a middle draw isn't as bad. I remember Aurora Patch running a fantastic race, and I think there was also Jerry Chow on, was it Dream Winner, I think, last season. He just went down the middle of the track and beat all the others that were on the so-called favoured outside rail. So you can never assume, but I think there's a few that I would prefer before Majestic Express, who's probably maybe handicapped to his best for the moment.
I tend to agree with everything you just said. Majestic Express is likely to get back. He's one of the slower starters out of this bunch, and definite place chance. I think it's a long tail to this race. I believe. And I think Majestic Express is one of those that can definitely can still run a good time. It's just got, it doesn't do himself any favors with the start. So we'll see how that all pans out. Speaking of, good starters and horses that have some upside, Lightness of Music, Nathan, beautiful debut last season. Zach Burton riding at 120 pounds. You don't see it very often.
Yeah, he'll be fasting, won't he, to get down to the weight. Look, and you see why. I think it's a very nice horse. You saw what he did last prep. The Son of Press statement. I was actually against him that day, but the market loved him. He got absolutely crunched into 1.9 on debut. And usually debutants at that sort of price, I just sort of want to stick clear. But he was just fantastic. Did it nicely. Really impressed on the day, and ran okay time in the end as well, which is also a good boost. Drops 4 kilos for that win. He carried 58.5. Drew gate 13, jumped, and that's the biggest thing about him. He showed good early speed. He sort of sat just in behind the speed, just around sort of 1-1 on that occasion. Peeled off the grandstand side and put them away nicely, and did it predominantly sort of pulled down, sort of hard held late by Zach Burton. Now, again, he does have to go up in grade, so you've got to take that into account. But sort of based on what he did last preparation, you just have to think if he holds that form and can run a similar figure with the weight off, he's going to be very, very hard to beat. Draws gate 5, you'd think he'll be offset by a positive ride. He'll go forward, put himself right in the mix. And just based on the depth of this race, I see no reason why he can't remain undefeated. Lightness of Music.
What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I'd agree. He's a really nice type, winning on debut, well under Burton to justify his position at the head of the market. And as Nathan says, he travelled well the whole way, peeled off the favoured outside rail and ran down Amazing Galaxy, who I think won next time to win by a cosy 2 lengths. And if you took the odds on, there was never really an anxious moment. Burton on board, and he was in the saddle when fourth his recent barrier trial. Yeah, so we can late in the piece actually in that barrier trial, but ought to strip fitter at the weekend. Nice horse. I mean, the £9 is perfect. He just creeps into class 3, doesn't he? So he's got this lovely low weight, the lowest that Burton has been so far. And I think the slight, Groovy Feeling was just £1 more. But as you say, probably miss out his steak and kidney pie to ride Lightness of Music. And all things being equal, you'd like to think that a horse that showed that much on debut with natural improvement should take care of some horses who are decent on the day but are a bit more exposed.
Yeah, Lightness of Music will definitely make his own. I think on tomorrow he will go forward. I know the Jockey Club's got Metro Power leading, but I think he'll lead outright. I think Burton won't take any risks and go straight to the front with Lightness of Music. He ran a nice time on debut. If you go back and compare times, he's definitely better than Class 4, which was what he won in, and he's up to Class 3 now. And I think he'll be too good for Class 3 in time. I think we'll see a nice one come out of this. But as we alluded to, Burton riding 120 pounds. He doesn't ride light that often, but when he does, you got to stand up and take notice. So, am I right in assuming, boys? I'll start with you, Nath, that Lightness and Music will get the job done tomorrow.
Yeah, on top for me. It's just going to be whether or not he's backable price. Probably like 1.7, 1.8 we were discussing pre-pod. And I think if you get that, he might even be a chips in play for the day. Or maybe you can sort of multi it with another horse you like throughout the card, maybe a few of the best bets or something, because I think he will prove hard to beat. Just one horse I want to touch on that we haven't yet that I think's a little bit of a chance here. There could be a blowout hope. And I think you get a good price. Is number 6, the All Out. Two-time winner last prep, both Griffin races, both down the straight at Sha Tin, then went off the boil at the end of the campaign and just missed the start. Forget it went around at Happy Valley. I just want to ignore that run. Interested to see what sort of price they put up. He was 7.7 that day at Happy Valley. And again, we don't know Lightness and Music is going to be quite short. So if there's one that draws gate 10, should get the right side of the track, could even get into that speed battle if they want to, the Jamie Richards trained galloper. I think the All Out could be one that's a little bit of an X factor, could be the forgotten one. So that's another one that made my sort of top 3 that could potentially be in the mix.
How about you, Steve?
Yes, I think it's hard to go beyond lightness of music. I think I'd also add a lot Alfonso as well. I think he's been very unlucky not to open his account over the 1,000 meters. Purton was on him once when he was very poor from the get go and made up a lot of ground, and he really has just been narrowly denied on being second three times over the 1,000 meters. So I think he's an interesting horse. I mean, I've actually followed him a few times, and I think there's still some mileage in his on his mark as well. Alfonso, as Nathan also says, the All Out's an interesting horse, and probably they trained by the inform Jamie Richards, who's 4 to everyone's 2 at the moment in the trainers ranking. Yeah, so look at the likes of Sugar and Lucky 8, who I prefer to see over the Happy Valley 1,200 meters. I think it's worth just quickly mentioning. Is it Metro Warrior? Was it? I can't remember if it's which Metro it is, but
Metro Power.
Yeah, I mean he won the trial that Lightness of Music was fourth at. I was just one thing about the trial Lightness of Music. He was weakened into fourth. I'm sure he'll have come on for that. But, Chris Sill, nothing from 14 so far, on his runners, barely a ripple so far. I'm sure that will change. But, the only thing I would say is the fact that Chris Sill hasn't really, frightened the judge yet with any of his horses. And also simple inexperience. I know he won so well on debut, Lightness of Music, but he's just taken on horses with a little bit more savvy, and I'm sure, I'm just looking for something. I'm looking for something, anything, and that's why, as you alluded to, Nathan, likes of the All Out is ignore that last run, and then for my part, Alfonso, I think is an interesting horse too, and but you can see all things being equal, Lightness of Music breaking well, and Zach gravitating over to the favoured outside rail. But I think Alfonso's interesting, and the top two, the likes of Stellar Express and where were we? Number one, the top one is
Fast Responder.
Yeah, you just think that they've probably maybe got a bit to do at the weights, and Lightness of Music is certainly the one that's certainly unexposed and interesting.
Yeah, I'm with Lightness of Music as well. I think it's going to go to a new level, but I'll touch more on that a bit later. Spoiler alert. We'll move on to race number 10, which is the Class 3 of 1,400 meters, the Wafu Handicap, 5:45 local time. Nice little late one, 7:45 p.m. here in Sydney. Interesting little race here. We're going to start off with number 2, Superb Kid, Nathan, who has shown glimpses, winning 2 back and then a 5th last start after getting well back over the 1,400 meters.
It was a good win, 2 back, when it beat Bruin Express. I thought it was a really nice effort. It got the perfect run. That was the only thing for me. Drew barrier 3 that day with Luke Ferraris in the saddle and got him pretty well there with the 57 kilos. Was, again, as you said, a little bit disappointing the start prior, but dropped 2.5 kilos off that run and then came out and won really, really nicely. Then drew 12 when beaten by Beauty Bolt, who that's a horse that I've got a lot of big opinion. I think will be a big progressive one this preparation. Keen to see when that horse lobs this prep. But and then obviously, in behind that, Master of All and also Spirit of Peace. Drew 12, so you can forgive that run, but then draws 10 this weekend and has to lug the 61 kilos. I do think is a little bit vulnerable here on the map. I think there's a few horses here that just get a much better run. If I was on him, I'd be a little bit concerned he does get caught wide without cover here when trying to slot in. So one of those ones that I do think's a chance. Left it out of my sort of main players in the race, though. If I had a top 4, he'd just be missing. I'd sort of have him in the middle of the pack. But look, I respect him. On his day, we know he's good. 17 starts for 4 wins and a couple of minors as well. So he's probably, of a few of these runners in this race, he's at least the thing you're going to get from him is a bit of consistency because he's always there or thereabouts. But it didn't quite figure in my top picks, Reedy.
It's interesting that I have him wide as well, but Jockey Club Speed Map has him last on the rail. So we'll see how that all pans out. They reckon a good to slow pace, Steve. Do you think Superb Kid, this might be a bridge too far in terms of pace and map?
I would think so. Yeah, I mean he's a likable type. 20% strike rate. Has done all his running over 1,400 meters. Had quite a light campaign last season, but has managed to win on his penultimate start, and ran very. And he looked destined for a place at one time there in that rat race. I couldn't see him doing much better than third or fourth. But then he really got a wet sail towards the end and stayed on best of all. Far from disgrace next time of a career high mark. I mean, that was a well contested race behind Beauty Bold, Master of All, Spirit of Peace, who actually ran well on his seasonal return. So yeah, it's a nice horse. Probably will pay his way during the season, but from a higher mark and seven and drawn in double figures, this might be just a little bit too difficult for him.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's going to be a slight. I can see him running on into the placings, but it's a tough little one with the weight he's got to carry, and we've seen it. We saw it on opening day. A lot of the horses that do carry that big weight are getting tired a bit earlier, and especially depending on how much work they've got to do in the run. Superb Kid is going to need a little bit of luck as well thrown in with the map. So another one that gets back, but is on a going for 3 wins in a row is Joy of Spring, Nathan. It's drawn barrier 2 with EC Wong on for Casper Founds. It'd be interesting, but both, had one win at Happy Valley, one win at Sha-Tin, but looks as though it's going to get back again and back to the 1,400 from 1,800.
Yeah, it's an interesting runner. I think he's really, really good. I think he's a good horse. I think at the end of the preparation, he's sort of been middling a little bit, but then he really hit his peak, stretching out and trip. As you said, I think first up at 1,400 metres has got to be the query. I think he's still a really talented galloper. He could pinch this race, no doubt. And I think for barrier 2, I think he sits closer in the run than what he probably has in the past. I know last prep, with Ellis Wong in the saddle, he drew about barrier 4 over the 1,800 metres, and he sort of sat back off a moderate tempo and went whooshka and did it nicely. Again, that was 1,800 metres, so you do have to take that into account. He's had 3 goes at the track and trip for just the one placing, but he loves Sha-Tin. He likes the big wide open course. So, look, a win wouldn't shock. I think he's a horse that still has plenty of upside. I think even after that claim, he gets in well with the 58.5 kilos. So definitely in the mix, a horse that I want to keep safe sort of in my quaddies and things like that. So not the worst for sure. And I think the market will love him off 2 wins. I think even despite the setup, I think the market will be with him. I think he'll sort of be around that $5-6 mark. So he could even be shorter, depending. So look, it fits him well for me. Just a minor concern at the trip, but maybe he needs it. If he does, then maybe one to look out for next up.
You agree with that, Steve? A bit too short for him?
Yeah, probably. Finished last season, of course, on a high with back-to-back victories. And as Nathan says, raced mainly over further 1,800 metres. So dropping back to the 1,400 is the query. But, similar to Pray for Mer last Sunday, who ran very well for third behind Marquin and Fast Network for a while, looked like he might even pinch it. So I do love the way in Hong Kong they come out and, they go up 400 minus back 400. It's a real poser. It's interesting. But he has finished on a high last season. And, interesting horse. Well drawn. Ellis Wong on him last time to victory. And Casper Founds has started the season well with 2 successes, the Air and Super Sicario. So he's in good form. The horse last seen in good form, Joy of Spring. And as the only last start winner in the field, he's worth respecting.
Yeah, definitely. He'll probably get stuck on the rail as well, you would think, and really hitting his straps late, but probably best placed chance than anything. But I tend to agree with both of you with the query with the distance. So we'll just see how he all goes. But this horse, he has no query at the distance. He's going to make his own luck up out in front, Master of All. I was just having a quick browse of his record. 12 starts, track and distance for 4 wins, 3 seconds, 3 thirds. That's 10 out of 12. He's run top 3. Nathan, in Hong Kong, you got to love that consistency.
100%, 100%. He was the starting point in the race for mine. Just as you sort of looked at it and saw how the mat works out, course and distance specialist, brought some consistency at the end of last prep as well. 1-2 trials at the end of the last preparation before resuming and running really, really nicely. Ran third behind Patch of Stars and Victory Sky. And then subsequently, we talked about that Beauty Bolt race. He was really good that day as well. Ran into second, stormed through the line, and was really, really impressive. Fended off Spirit of Peace, who, as Steve alluded to, came out and ran really well last weekend as well. So you can tie him into some really good horses. The thing that I love about him is the map. Draws gate 5, should get the perfect run. Whether or not he leads, there does look to be a bit of a lack of speed. So if there is, he can sort of just lob there. And if not, you can't imagine he'd be cast wide from barrier 5. He should sort of find the 1-1 and gets a really nice run in transit. So there was only one horse I found to be beating him, and that was just on a pure spec as well. But I think he's a very nice chance here. For me, he's got to be the leading hope. I think he'll be favourite, and I think he'll deserve to be because I think he's proved very hard to hold out.
He sits nice and handy, Steve, but it's his Class 3 record that has the question mark. Do you think he might top it off?
Yes, I do. I think he has an excellent chance. Yes, question mark, but at Class 3, but he's done everything but win. I mean, he's gone very, very close, and I think he's still entitled to improve a little as well. So consistent, the last 12 out of the last 13 runs have been over his favoured 1,400 metres. He's a real specialist, isn't he? And the only time he was out of the top 4 was good to yielding track, where he also had a continuous epiglottic entrapment. So fair to say he had excuses. I like him. He's a nice sort. He's nicely drawn, 6 pounds above his last winning mark, but certainly up to landing this. And Alexi Bedell has a win and a second on him from 2 rides. Ended the campaign well. I like him. He's one of these that is just a steady. He's the kind of horse that you would really want in a yard, isn't he? And it's hard to imagine him not taking a hand in the finish.
Yeah, I agree. Good draw, nice little weight, loves the distance at this track, will make his own luck. I do have one in front of him, though. We're about to touch on that. Nathan, we've agreed similar to who we think the danger is. Who's your bet in this race?
Yeah, pretty keen here. I think an each way play. I think we had a decent price here for the number 1 horse, and that's Snowfield. I actually think he's a really good bet here. Last preparation, he just had the 3 starts in Hong Kong, and he was a shade disappointing. I thought his second run showed what he could really do. He ran 4th in a 7-horse field in Class 2 company behind Voyage Samurai. That was a slowly run race, and he sprinted home really, really nicely. That was second up at the mile, and then subsequently third up. It was, again, a small field. But forgive that run. He pulled up as Aurora post-race, so you're not going to do much when you pull up like that. So forget about that run. Went back to the trials. He's had 19 weeks off, and his latest trial behind One More I thought was very, very exceptional. Just sat back, peeled out to the middle of the course, stormed through the line, and I love the booking here of Hugh Bowman. It just looks like a perfect top weight sort of type here, dropping back in the Class 3 company. The map looks good from barrier 7. I expect him sitting somewhere midfield with cover. If they don't go overly quick and turns into a sit and sprint, I think he's got a good turn of foot. I'm not concerned there. And if they go too quick, I think he gets the last crack at them. So I think he's versatile enough to be sprinting over the top and winning. He obviously had winning form in Brazil before coming to Hong Kong. Sometimes those form lines don't rate very well. And so far he hasn't. But back in the Class 3, he just fits in so well off his rating. I think he'll run a big, big race. I think we'll get around sort of $8, similar to what I was speaking about Mickley last week. And if we get that, I'm happy to be backing him 1x4 all day for me. He's one of the each-way best bets of the day. We have to wait till last, but I think it'll be worth it for Snowfield.
I'm going to cut in front of Steve here just because I'm with Snowfield as well. It's funny you mentioned about that run 2 runs back. I thought that was tremendous behind Voyage Samurai. Even though the draw looks tricky, there's not that much pace in this race. I expect him to be sitting pretty prominent with Huey aboard. And as you said, the mentioned that he was Aurora at the end of last start. He actually went and had a tieback and Hobday throat surgery to clear the airways on the 8th of May. And then he was subsequently lost his manhood in June. So which could also, we've seen, especially here in Australia, we see a lot of horses that do get gelded and they come back quite a different horse. So I'm willing to, I agree with Nathan, and I'm willing to take the risk on this galloper back into Class 3 Snowfield. I think we could get a good, nice little bet on him. Hopefully we get a good price, Nath. But there's one that we're worried about. Steve, you're going to touch on this one, aren't you? This is your tip for tip for the race. Sorry.
Yeah, there's no great surprise in picking Master of All, the horse that's so consistent, I guess. But he's a really likeable sort, very consistent. And unlike some, these are his ideal conditions. He is 6 pounds above his last winning mark, but certainly up to landing this. I think this could be his breakthrough in this grade. And as I alluded to earlier, Alexia Bedell doesn't know him that well, but he's had a win and a second on him from 2 rides, which you can't criticise that. Ended the campaign with an excellent run up to Beauty Bolt, and he's just a very, very good horse. And I did have a bit of FOMO when I clicked on and saw you'd both gone for Snowfield, though. The fear of missing out was there, and I thought, oh my, what's happening here? And it's like they've ganged up on me here they've unearthed one. But interesting horse, Snowfield, isn't he? I mean, very lightly raised. He makes his in this jurisdiction, and down in grade. And as you've already mentioned, the best of the 3 runs, an excellent fourth to Void Samurai in a small but select field. So Hugh Bowman, excellent jockey, great clock in his head, doesn't he? I always find Hugh Bowman, and I always find when you pick a horse like Master of All, who's very consistent, it's the very time you pick him that he actually finishes about 12th, But hopefully that isn't the case this time. And I like his chance. I respect both of your selections. I think Snowfield's a very interesting horse. It's amazing how in calmer waters, and also he's had a bit more time, a couple of more months to acclimatise. He could well be the surprise package. A few others I thought Endeared. I thought always a bit of a disappointment, really. He won well, but he hasn't really kicked on from there. And then we've already talked about Superb Kid and Joy of Spring. I thought Star Satya was a nice winner for Tony Cruz on his penultimate start, and I think he ran a bit better than it looked last time. I think he's interesting. Prestige Ricky had a good run, a good third 3 runs ago, but it turns out to be a bit of a flash in the pan because he's done very little since. But an interesting closer. Wouldn't be surprised to see Master of All and Snowfield being in the fighting at the finish. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? I know how I would like to see it finish, but interesting finish.
For those who are listening, it's a nice quinella that we can put on for the end of the card. Now for the most important part of, well, it wasn't last week, unfortunately, but Nathan's going 2 from 2. Nathan, this one here for your best bet, I tell you what, I had it written down after the trials, and I had Patch of Stars and Fast Network in the back of my head with the draw and Purton. You've gone with Turbulent Golfer here in race 8.
Yep, that's the way I'm leaning. I think he's almost M-word material. I think he'll be winning and winning well. I know,
If I was actually decent, I would clip that.
Do it.
I clip it and post it later. But yes, continue. Sorry.
No, it's okay. No, I like being a bit bold and a bit bullish when you're tipping these up. He's going to be short, and I think he'll deserve it though. He was great last preparation in 2 starts. He was first up. He was good behind Era Volanic over the 1,200 meters. Second up was beaten by Igor Stravinsky. Second up in the campaign, but he should have won that day. He was held up behind him for most of the straight from the inside draw, drew barrier 1, and just couldn't get out with Matty Poon in the saddle, unfortunately. Igor Stravinsky looks like a progressive type. I mean, we actually saw Groovy Feeling win last Sunday, so the form's franked, and I think we'll be winning again on Sunday. Spoiler alert there, when the tips come out on Sunday afternoon. I think Groovy Feeling can go back-to-back, so I think the form's really, really good. Lovely tick-over trial since one stepping out at Shartin on the all-weather surface was really good there. That was back on August 29. Yes, barrier 12's a concern, but I think the difference between this horse and Patch of Stars last week, the thing that I think is slightly different is that I think this horse will be actually relish jumping and going forward and sort of being without cover. I think the clean air will do him well. I think he'll settle nicely. I think 1,400 metres is 1,200 metres still staying at 1,200, pardon me, is the main thing for me. And I think when I look at this race, I just don't see a lot of depth outside him. There's sort of a lot of horses that have already hit their rating, or a lot of unknown types, like Hot Air Balloon. Good Fortune was good on the week back up here. Decision Link, I don't think's trialled that well. And then you look down the bottom of the page, you've got horses that are running well, but aren't really winners. So I think Tourbillon Golfer can just sort of jump, make his own way, and I think he proves hard to beat. I think he'll be sort of 1.8, 1.9, and if he opens that, I'm chips in.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about number 4. Was it Good Fortune? I thought that was a brilliant run last week, and the fact they're backing up. Do you think the draw just might be its kryptonite?
Yeah, I thought he was one of the main dangers when I looked at the race. I thought interesting that the winner there, Spicy Standard, was a big price. Not that that's always off-putting, but it does sort of signal to me that they weren't expecting that. And he was good in behind. He finished off well. He was 140 to 1 in that race. So now, what sort of price does he start after that? You still get double figures, I think. So if you want to follow him, and I couldn't blame you, the map looks a little awkward, but I do think he's one of the main dangers. It's just when they're running at 150s, and now you've got to take sort of 11s, and then I've got a horse here in Tourbillon Golfer that's been consistent enough when being backed. Now we get Purton. Just a bit more confidence about him, I think.
We're going to go up to race number 4. For Steve's best bet, Zach Purton theme of the day.
It is. I don't want to be a spoiler, but in Zach we trust a little bit for our best bets. Yes, best bet race 4, number 6, Better and Better, likely race, Son of Seamus Award. He was a beaten favourite on debut. Incidentally, Purton was on board, and this is the first time he's back on. Ran well the next twice, when Never Near a Fourth to Lucky My Way, and then Co-Partner Fleet. Runs that suggest to me that this step up to 1,400 ought to be ideal. Disappointed at Happy Valley on his final start last season, but Purton is slight excuses for there as well, and maybe didn't even like the course. But he's back at Shatton. Purton back on board, well drawn in Gate 1. And he looked very nice to me when he won his latest trial. He takes on some interesting rivals who know how to win, crucially. Sugar Ball is a consistent sort. He's Gate 11, but he's if he's not winning, then he normally gets placed. And there's Top Time as well, who's interesting. And Raging Rapids, who was a last start winner last season for John Size. So an interesting one. Roman Crown's also been threatening to win, but I think he's a nice horse. He's not the fastest away, but I would imagine Zach would get a nice position on the rail. And Frankie Law yet to get on the score sheet, but has gone close already this season with the likes of Regal Gem and Victory Champion. I think he has a very good chance of bricking his duck at the 5th start.
That's Better and Better in race number 4. Look, we mentioned mine earlier. Race 7, number 11, Lightness of Music. I think he should be winning. Ran nice time on debut, down in the weights. And, Purton down in the weights, so you got to take notice. Up in class, I think he's better than class 3. Again, won't be the first time that I'll be wrong if I get it wrong. So, but I think he's, the one with a race that has such a long tail. And the quality of this guy that I think, I'm just hoping we get an all right price to be able to have a good bet on it. But for me, it's race 7, number 11, Lightness of Music as my best bet. Steve's best bet, race 4, number 6, Better and Better. And Nathan's is race 8, number 1, Tourbillon Golfer. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we wrap it up, boys?
Geez, any others this weekend? As I said, just groovy feeling, I think, can go back to back. I think that's a really good chance in an earlier race.
Jamie Richards.
Jamie Richards. He was very impressive returning. Just held off another big priced horse there that ran the same thing, Joyful Champion, something like that anyway. So, but I thought it was a good winner last Sunday. I think he'll be winning again. So I'm looking for back-to-back, and then, just another Purton winner, eh?
Steve, anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up?
Although we didn't cover it, it's a very interesting Class 3 on the dirt. The penultimate race is a cracker, isn't it?
Yep.
I think that's an interesting race. Also interesting. I think it's the 5th race. Interesting to see how Max Q gets on. He's another that's becoming a bit borderline frustrating. Mark Newnham and Andrea Zini. He's from Gate 1. There should be no excuses this time, but I expect him to have won by now. That's an interesting race, actually. I like race 5. And as I said, race number 9 with a lot of Dragon Air Force makes his return, and Mojave Desert in the Class 3 dirt race. That's a real bun fight there.
Yeah, so we just keep an eye out for that, punters. There's 2 races on the all-weather. Obviously, different tactics, different turf, and well, not turf, it's dirt, but you know what I mean. We're mixing the words up. It's long. It's been a long week, friends. It's been a long week. Boys, hope you have a great weekend. That's a wrap for the debut, not the debut episode, the second episode of Gate to Glory. Be sure to check out Nathan's articles on horsebetting.com.au or through his X handle at the Sideline Heat, and Steve's handle is at Shanks Ponies. Mine's at in the 1-1 or via ozrace.com.au. Boys, have the best weekend.
Thank you, mate. You as well. Good luck.
Yep.
And good luck to all the punters out there this weekend. May your roughies run on and your good things get home.